Okay, I think we will start. I think before we start, like any questions, Sidre, I think we'll do that by the time Lata might come. If no questions, then we have to start only.
ನಾವು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾನಂದ.
Yeah, we are. Brahman is the universe.
ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ.
That is 226 verse.
ಇವಾಗ ಈಗ ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್, ಈಗ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಬುದ್ಧಿಸಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವೇದಿಕ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಅಪ್ ಟು ದೇರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ರಿಯಲೈಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಬಹಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ತುಂಬಾ ನಾಗರಿಕತೆಗಳಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಏನು ಹೀಬ್ರು ಅಂತೆ ಬೇರೆ 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 ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ, ಇದು ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯಾನಿಟಿಗಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು. ಆವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಇವನ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ವಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್?
That was there. That was there all the time. See, if you go by Bhagavad Gita, he says that I taught this to Vaishwanara and all that.
No, I'm talking about outside of the Jambudvipa.
Jambudvipa dati illa, because most of the traditions have gone from India. So India has been a center of learning for millennia. Andre even before Greeks took it, they Aristotle and all of those people who started looking at it, and then illa adakku munche there are a lot of the Greek pantheon of gods, and most of the tradition resembles what was there in India. So there were what I can say, meeting of people at that time also, and trying to see what is the reality and all that. So it was there, and rather it has been there. That's a better way to put it. So this is not anything. You know what? There are 2,000 plus Buddhas who have gone before Gautama. So there are so many Buddhas and so many civilizations have gone through. So we cannot say that this has happened only recently, and even the Vedic teachings have happened long time ago.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವೇದಿಕ್ ಕೂಡ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬರೋದು 10,500 ಅಥವಾ that time ಅಂತ. ಅದ್ರ ಮೊದಲೇನಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ, ಆವಾಗ ಜನ how they used to reach that stage of Brahman ಅಂತ.
No, it would have been there. It was something or the other would have been there. See, the thing is, it might not be a restrictive one, and it's always been an open thing about finding. So the quest would always been there, even before Vedic civilization happened. So never in the past there is a time that this knowledge was not available. There she comes.
Morning.
Good morning. What happened?
Sorry, got delayed.
Okay, no worries. So the thing is, aspect of realization and liberation has been there for more than 10,000, or even whenever the humanity started. Because I'll tell you one thing. See, the experience what I had relating to all the realms of existence last year, that thing has not changed. Basically, just because we have spirituality now or we didn't have spirituality earlier, the realms of existence have been there. So it all depends on the state of mind of that being at that point in time, and then how he or she is going to break up that body. So at the time of death, what thought comes in, and that becomes. So an interesting verse in Bhagavad Gita, which I was explaining yesterday night to people who had joined meditation, is on this one, prayana kale manasa achalena So that we have already covered in the 8th chapter. But if we were to reflect that, what exactly that means? So, prayana kala, see, we are already in the prayana all the time. The kala is when that mind is going to be cut off from the consciousness, and it will have to struggle to break out from the body and then go into the next existence. Now, what he says. So, yesterday Lata was talking to me about the Kriya Yoga, or that Lahari Masai, where the book what she has bought, and then in that it talks about prana getting still. So, prana should be suspended. Without suspension of the prana, the mind cannot be said to be in non-moving. So, whichever tradition, however it is put or whatever it's been explained, if we were to understand that correctly, then it says prayana kale manasa achalena. Achala is to move. No, sorry, chala is to move. Achala is non-moving. So, as long as the mind keeps on moving in something or the other, in towards the punya phala or towards the papa phala, the rebirth is going to be there. Nothing can be done to stop the rebirth from happening. So he says, Krishna says that one needs to establish the prana in the Agnya Chakra. So Bruhor Madhye Prana Va Veshya. So he brings it, he will not have the Avesha there, that is the excitement, and he brings that prana in the center of the eyebrows. Then he leaves the body. Okay, so this is a process. Whether we do Buddha teaching and attain that, or we do the Shankara way, or we do the Kriya Yoga way, we use the Christianity way, or Islam way, or Jain way, or this way, that way, the naming has no contextual relationship at all. The problem with humanity is he would like to name it and he would like to possess it. It's like saying that, look, I am from the faith of Krishna, so I believe in Krishna. You believe in Krishna or you don't believe in Krishna, that has no relevance as far as the consciousness goes and as far as the prana goes. Because prana doesn't say that, look, I am a follower of Shiva, or I am a follower of Vishnu, or I don't believe in any religion whatsoever, or I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that. The prana has got no relevance to it. It is a fabrication of the mind to believe that something which is non-existent, it creates that existence. That is, all the names and forms and all the identification are based upon that mind which is chala, which is moving. So we, that is the person, has to then make it nischala. That is, it's non-moving. So the chittas, which are basically the consciousness, and that consciousness which is appearing as thoughts, has to be stopped. How do you stop it? You can only stop it if you come out of Nama and Rupa. So now, which philosophy talks about Nama and Rupa? Only Shankara talks about Nama and Rupa, and Buddha talks about Nama and Rupa extensively. So only two philosophies talk about Nama and Rupa. Other philosophies don't talk about Nama and Rupa, they believe in Bhakti. Granted, now you put your Bhakti to work. Establish yourself in the deity, whichever deity you are following. So we have to get to something. That something is oneness. So that is the reason, if we are going towards the Bhuta Shuddhi and through Bhakti Marga, we need to have one God or one deity. And this is where the Islam and Christianity, they go by one. Because that is the right way of doing. You can't have hundreds of gods and goddesses and get entangled with it. It doesn't add up anything. So basically, humanity has found out ways and means to find out how to go back to the source. And the problem with that is when it becomes an organized religion, wherein you have your own structure and functions and all that, that creates a lot of issues, because reality is not like that. Now when the structure is put in place, just like a house is put in place, it is disorder. So we are trying to bring order. The order can never be brought when the world itself is chaos, meaning the concept of loka or the world is chaos, because that is the reason it is called illusion. If the world was something which was itself having the intelligence and it knew what to be done, then it wouldn't have been called as an illusion, it would have been called as Brahman itself. So the reason that it is illusion, because it's always in disorder. So we are trying to do something which is disorder to come into some order, which can never happen. Meaning we put a community and then we want to put a process in place because we want to order things. It should appear in certain order. That doesn't happen because the karmas are different, the vasanas are different, the samskaras are different, the chittas are different. And how can something so vast and so distributed can be put in order? This is where things fail, because all the religion are trying to find out how to go back to that one single source from which they have come. So if we implement the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, before the person closes the shop for the night, he should have brought his prana in the center of eyebrow. Then he will not come back, because there is no chala. Without mind moving, there can't be any rebirth, because consciousness cannot itself be reborn. It requires an equipment to be reborn, and the equipment is the mind. So that is very much required. If we don't have that, and then it will not work. Any question on this?
Fine, I think we can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so now continue further on Vivekachudamani. One thing is that I thought of completing some of it and then coming to the 9th chapter, because they are interlinked. So what we learn here will become easy when we go to the 9th and 10th chapter. So I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we need to understand is the oneness is real. Divided one is unreal. So what do you mean by divided one and oneness? The consciousness which is appearing in everything is real. But the mind taking that I am existing at this point in time is unreal. There is no second to that consciousness. There is no competitor to it, saying that, okay, I also exist, he also exists. No. Now this mind has the energy called as Atma. So we are disregarding that Atma, at least intellectually. Because if this Atma also exists and the true self also exists, then either the true self has to merge with this Atma, or this Atma has to merge with that. So it becomes this and that. This will remain as this. It will never become that, because it is attached to the mind. And that will remain as that because it has no conditionality to get associated with this. So in no way, in no practical way of doing it, you cannot merge this with that. This being the individual consciousness, that being in the universal consciousness. So it becomes Dvaita. It becomes duality. You cannot have two existences at the same time. There can be only one thing called as an existence. There's only one, Advaita. There is no second. There's nothing called as second in command. No, sorry. There's only one commander. That's it. Now, any questions on this? This is the key verse. Verse number 226 is very, very, what I can say, it is a path breaker. It can either take a person down or it can take a person up further. What do you think? One of them has to die. No question? Okay. If there is no question, then it's understood. Yeah. Somebody spoke something. Okay. No worries. Good. So, there is no thing called an individual self. There is only universal self. And that is the only independent entity. And there is no other independent entity. Now, we are talking about the reflected consciousness. So, what we are trying to say is that the reflected consciousness is false. It seems to be the truth. It appears to be, but it is not. Just like the moonlight is appearing in the bucket, because of the mind is able to reflect that moonlight. But for that reason, the moon is not there in that bucket. If I search for the moon, I will never get it. But because that light is there, it can do wonders. But by itself, cannot do anything. So this clarity should be there of the verse number 226. Then if it is there, then 227, he talks about the entire universe. Yat idam sakalam vishvam nana rupam pratitam ajnana nat tat sarvam brahma eva pratyastha shesha bhavana dosham. That which is this yad idam sakalam vishwam, that which is this entire Vishwa. Vishwa can be put as the world or the universe. Nana rupam pratitam ajnanat, appears in infinite forms because of ignorance. Tat sarvam brahma eva, this is in fact Brahman alone. Pratyastha shesha bhavana dosham, when viewed free from all limitation of thought. So basically, extending the verse number 226, if the individual consciousness does not in any way exist, and it doesn't have anything to do with what is happening, so the world comes to an end, because the world is created in that individual consciousness. And the individual consciousness is associated with the mind and the five senses. So what that mind is sensing of the five senses is not registered onto the universal consciousness. And that is the reason there is no superimposition of the original with this duplicate of this reflective. The reflective consciousness is able to perceive based upon the limited information it has through the senses and the sense objects, what it is making out of it. So the mind, what we call as an equipment, is able to only sense, perceive intellectualize what it is seeing and hearing and tasting and touching and smelling, and the equal amount of object of the same kind. It cannot perceive anything else. So it adds these two together and creates a manomaya loka, that is the loka created out of the mind. And either it suffers out of it or it enjoys out of it, but for the very fact that the universal consciousness has got nothing to do with what this mind is enjoying or suffering. And that is the true self. So, this Nana Rupam Pratitam, what seemingly appears like an individual appearing and disappearing, is all part of the same consciousness, which has got nothing to do with what is appearing and what is disappearing. Meaning to say, just like the sun might not get irritated by the shade. A tree is there and below the tree is a shade because the sunlight is not able to go there. But the sun is unconcerned about whether the shade exists or shade doesn't exist. The person walking on the road might find it very hot, humid, but when he stands below the shade, he finds it cool. Just because that man is standing below the tree, the sun doesn't feel insulted that, look, I am giving this heat and heat to this person because I want him to get the vitamin D. But look at this idiot. He goes and stands below the shade. It doesn't do that. If it is below the shade, it's below the shade. So the sun doesn't come and say that, hey, you know what? I wanted to gift you vitamin D and you are acting smart, so why don't you go and stand there? And reluctantly, the person stands there because he doesn't want that heat. Or Bangalore has become slightly cold for last few days, so people have started wearing sweater. So the sun doesn't feel literally annoyed that, look, it is not because of me you are feeling cold, it is because of the clouds. I have been asking these clouds to walk away from this place so that I can keep the people in very good condition. Now, this cloud is not listening to me, and because of that, I'm losing on so many followers. Now, it doesn't do. If the clouds are not there, the sun appears. If the clouds are there, the sun doesn't appear. So this is the concept of Brahman. It doesn't really matter. So whatever is appearing and disappearing, that is the man walking on the road, feeling hot and he stands below the shade, and the tree and the sun, all are appearing in the consciousness only. They are not appearing outside the consciousness. And hence, Brahman is the universe of everything. Okay, the next verse is, which we have been talking, is a pot and only a clay. So, Mrit Karya Bhutaha Api Mridaha Na Bhinnaha Kumbhaha Asti Sarvatra Tu Mrit Swarupat Na Kumbharupam Prithag Asti Kumbhaha Kutaha Mrisha Kalpita Nama Matraha. Mrit Karyabhutaha Api. Karyabhuta is the bhuta, that is, that mud is made in a certain way. So, though only a modification of that mud, mridaha na bhinnaha, and not really different from that clay. Kumbhaha is a potter. Asti sarvatra. A pot is in every part of it. Tu mrit swarupat. The mud or the clay appears to be the pot because it's been named. Now here is where Shankara talks extensively on the Nama and Rupa. So only, like I said, only two philosophies talk about Nama and Rupa. One is the Buddha philosophy and the Shankara philosophy. So the Nama and Rupa here is that the Nama portion is the naming conventions. The Rupa is something which does not really exist at all, and we create it. Just like the person is called as a husband and a person is called as a wife, but they both are person. They don't have the designation of husband and wife. And from the day that person is challenged to find who is this wife and who is this husband, neither he is able to drop this wife from his head or husband from her head, because they really don't exist. If they were to check, each body parts are exactly the same except for the private part. Nothing else is different. Okay. And only thing is that the hairs are growing in certain places for a man and it doesn't grow in certain places for a so-called woman. But basically they both are having the same internal organs. There is no difference in the organ. And again, since the man is not going to have a baby, the uterus is there in a woman. That's the only difference. Nothing else is different. But not knowing this reality, the person keeps on hunting for getting entangled with the woman, or the woman wants to get entangled with the man, thinking that they're possessing something different. And that is the concept of pot and a clay. As long as the pot exists, as long as the clay exists, the clay here is the individual consciousness. Pot can be made. If you were to remove the individual consciousness and make it as universal consciousness, no longer the clay is there and no longer the pot would remain. So the first step in this direction is to cut off the relationship of friend, father, mother, brother, sister, relatives, wife, children, all of that. Not that we should not be grateful to our parents, or not we should not have any kind of relationship as an external. That should be there. But internally, they're all appearing as pot based upon the karma. Some pots are bigger, some pots are smaller, some pots are, let's say, circle, round ones, then some parts are squared ones, some parts are tall ones, some parts are lean ones, some pots are short, some like that. We have so many pots. But if you were to search anything in those pots, you will only find the clay. You will never find the pot. Similarly, if somebody were to only search for the person, he will only find the four elements. He doesn't find anything else. Other than these four elements, nothing exists at all. And that's the reason when after death, when we take the body to the crematorium, and we don't say we are taking the being to the crematorium. We are not saying that we are taking the person to the crematorium. When my mother died, I did not say that I'm taking my mother to crematorium. I said I'm taking the body to crematorium. That means we are aware of the fact that it doesn't have its own existence. Otherwise, we wouldn't have used the word body. In fact, as soon as the person dies, whether it is in the hospital or at home or wherever, when the relative calls and or when the person gives the message to the relative saying that, look, my mother or father or brother or wife or whoever passed away. And then they say, yeah, we are very sorry to hear, what time is the funeral and all that. Then what's the next sentence? The next sentence is the body at home? Do we really say, my wife is at home, or my father is at home, my mother is at home, why don't you come and participate into the funeral? Because we know the pot never exists. So this clarity, if we have, we have come out of the Nama and Rupa. Now once the Nama and Rupa is removed, you can see consciousness is consciousness, because it is entangled with these four elements, or rather five elements, including space, because it's occupying space. So when we come out of this madness of this Nama and Rupa, the consciousness is liberated in the mind, because it is not going to identify itself with 100 different pots. One pot is the same pot called as X person and a Y person and a Z person or A person, B person. It really doesn't matter. The same mud is called as India. The same mud is called as America. The same mud is called as, say, Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or Pakistan or China or whatever it is. It's the same mud. And if you go to those countries, you will not find anything other than the mud. No matter how good the road has been laid, but below that road is the mud. And the road is also made out of the mud. The asphalting is also made out of the mud. The cementing is also made of the mud. That means it is just mud. So do you think a country exists? No. Country exists as Nama. But where's the Rupa? So then we show a piece of a land and say, there is the Rupa. Okay, very good. Show me this Rupa, what you're talking about. No, it's not there. So, because that we don't have the associated Rupa really, it's very easy to change a person by designate that person into whatever we want. So we can call the person as a senior software engineer, and we can call that person as vice president, and we can call that person as managing director, or we can call that person as a developer or tester or whatever. And then we can create an employment and profession and all that, because that person doesn't feel hurt by naming. In fact, he feels very happy, because the idea given is that you are going to be a bigger pot than the smaller pot. So then we say this is the smaller and this is the bigger. So the more designation changes you get, the better it is. So the person wants to get promoted. So from the childhood onwards, that is exactly the message given, and that person keeps on believing that I am growing. But actually it is only naming. There is no growth. The growth is decay only. The body is decaying, and it'll end whenever it should end. And you have to keep on feeding that every 4 hours, at least minimum. Then somebody can say that he exists. And then the person has to be taking medicines and all kind of precautions. Otherwise that person might not come to office, or he might not even stay at home. He might be in the hospital. Now there is a designation called as hospital. And hospital is dreaded because there are number one, the money is going to be utilized. Two is that there will be pains. So pricking pain and this pain and that pain. So I am scared about the pain. I don't want the pains. I want the pleasure. So two things are dreaded by people. One is to go to the police station, and another one is to go to the hospital, because the Nama and Rupa there. The Rupa, what we see in hospital is deceased persons, one who are having diseases. But if that is true, how come people are taking medicine? And why do they become doctor? Like my son here, he loves to go to hospital. And I am aversive to going to hospital. Isn't that my mentality problem? Is it really that there's something out there which is going to kill me? It's my mentality. Whereas my son is so eager to go to hospital. He would like to see the patients. So for a person who wants to go to hospital and take the patient, his Nama and Rupa is different. His pot is different. Whereas my pot is different. But actually both are coming from clay. So if I see that my son's consciousness and my consciousness are absolutely the same. The pain what he feels, the pain what I'm going to feel when something is pricking is the same. And if he were to prick an injection to me, or if I am going to prick an injection to him, it's going to pain. Maybe he will not show that pain on his face, and I'm going to show it on my face because of the mind. So here is the problem with the mind. So if I were to change the mindset, accepting to the pain that's part of life, and disease is also part of life, because if that were to be untrue, why then students prefer to become a doctor? And why are doctors so obsessed of being a doctor? Whether they are from the allopathic background or homeopathic or Ayurvedic or whatever it is, but they would love to be in that profession. That means there's something weird in this. One person hates one thing and another person loves the same thing. Like, we might hate going to the police station because we see torture and all that. But there are people who would love to join police. We might hate to join the army or navy or air force because there is going to be risk of death, and you have to be on the battlefield all the time. But that doesn't mean that the people are not there who are serving the army and the navy and air force. Like there are these criminals who know it is criminal, but they choose that profession because they feel that is better. So one dislikes one thing, but another person likes the same thing. So that means you cannot rely on this. And this is what is called as loka. And this is an illusion. What is liking to one would be disliking to the other because the pots are different. The clay is the same. So verse number 229, he says pot is an illusion caused by delusion, which we already covered with my explanation. So we go through this. Kena api mrid भिन्नतया स्वरूपं घटस्य संदर्शयितुं न शक्यते अतः घटः कल्पितः एव मोहात् मृत् एव सत्यं परमार्थभूतम्. Is there anyone to whom other than as mud, the essence of pot as something else? Sandarshiyatum na shakyate is seen to be, no, it is just not possible. That is there anything else other than the mud in that pot? Do you find any essence in that? Like, do I find any essence in the wife? Do I find any essence in the son or the daughter? Or do I find any essence in a friend? Do I find any essence in an enemy? No, except for designation, they truly don't exist. So the pot is mere illusion due to the moha. Moha is delusion. Kalpitaha, it's kalpana, that is imagined. And because it is imagined, it is illusory. And because it is illusory, it becomes defective and hence delusion. When we say delusion, I see that person exists as a wife. So now I give a job description for a wife, but there is no universal job description for a wife. So the family will give, the husband will give, child will give as a mother. So for that same individual, I think we have covered it long time ago, who becomes a wife for someone, a daughter for someone, a mother for someone, a friend for someone, a sister for someone. Like that, we can keep on adding these designations which have no use. Because mud alone is its enduring reality. This body which is made of 5 elements is the only reality. Whatever name is given as called as, it's of no use. So then he comes to universe, saying that universe also is the same illusion. Sat Brahma Karyam Sakalam Sat Evam Tanmatram Etat Na Tatah Anyat Asti Asti Iti Yaha Vakti Natasya Mohaha Vinigrataha Nidritavat Prajalpaha. So also, being only the effect of Brahman, Sat Brahma, this entire universe itself is in its essence. It cannot exist without that. Anyone who says that the world is, I believe there is a world. And this is where the Shankara and the Madhva teaching cross. They no longer remain the same. Because Shankara said that it is a fool only who will say that Jagat is real. And Madhva came and said Jagat indeed is real. And now I don't know who is in moha, because he says na tasya mohaha. He has not come out of the delusion. So Jagat is mithya as per Advaita. So if I'm an Advaiti, I have understood the Brahman and the name and forms, I will definitely disagree with Madhvacharya view that Jagat is real. Now when Madhva came, he never had the concept of Nama and Rupa. So he went by referential, inferential and personal experience. So if a mosquito were to bite, you cannot say, hey, but there's no mosquito. It's just an illusion. It's bitten. I'm feeling the pain. Hey, well, the pain is an illusion. That looks stupidity. So Madhva was able to prove that Brahman Satya Jagat Mithya is really a false thing. It cannot be. Because one can infer. If somebody has not got a snake bite, he can infer from people who have got snake bite that it can be poisonous, but it pains. Let somebody has not got a sting of a honeybee, and he goes and talks to a person who had sting of honeybee. He knows there is a pain. So you can't say the Jagat is mithya. Whereas Shankara says here, because he is saying from the Nama and Rupa being removed, that Jagat is mithya. So when Madhva or when Ramanuja were there, they never had a concept of Nama and Rupa. So only...
Yes, I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
When everything is unreal, why pain is real?
Why pain is real? Okay, now...
Because that also can be considered as unreal, right? If we are saying the relationship between the husband and wife, that relationship is, we have named it and it has got a form, that is why if that is not there, it becomes unreal.
Correct.
So, but why do we consider pain real?
The pain is not real as such, Padma Shri. What one need to know is that there are three kinds of feeling. One is a painful feeling, one is a pleasurable feeling, and one is a neutral feeling. So if somebody's mind were to be put in neutrality, he will not react to that pain. That's the...
So from that perspective, pain is also unreal.
Yes, pain is always created in the mind, and pleasure is also created in the mind. Both are mind created. The biting is true. The body is going to feel the pain is also true. But after some time, the pain goes away. Like somebody slaps. Okay, and after 10 minutes, the slap, that whatever was there, the cells become all right and the pain goes away. But the mental pain, what is created of that slap, remains for years together of that person. So this pain of mental is fabricated one. The physical pain certainly exists because there is jiva inside that. There is a living entity. So as long as that jivita indriya exists in the body as cells, it's going to have the pain. So pain is because of the what is that, receptors. So because you have the pleasure receptors and the pain receptor, the body can feel either sukha or dukkha. Beyond that, it doesn't feel anything at all. So it is mind made and hence unreal. Would that answer?
I didn't feel that because we are talking about everything, meaning why Shankara considered everything to be unreal.
Correct.
So, but then we were trying to cross it with the fact that because the pain is real, it is not unreal. So, I was wondering if everything was unreal, why do we consider the pain real? But
Yeah,
here now we have gone into a different concept itself, saying that the body is real. That means
no, it's
so
not
the body is real.
No,
and because the physical pain is felt by the body, it is real, you are saying. So that means that makes the body real.
Yeah, this is where we are going to get stuck very badly. So in one way Shankara wins and another way Madhva wins. So as long as we don't come out of the body consciousness, which is also there, we cannot see this reality of Brahman. So then what happens? Both become Satya. The body pain and the body feelings become Satya as the Brahman, which is also there. So then two existences are possible. So that's the reason Dvaita is the right philosophy. So now we have to go with the choice. If I am not able to get out of this illusion that this body exists and this feeling is just a feeling, it has got nothing to do with anything, then I can get into Advaita, because I need to do this jump from Dvaita to Advaita. This is the jump here. If not, I will end up considering the world is real because the bite of the snake or the bite of an insect or falling down on the road and all of that causes pain. And also getting the heat and when there is a temperature change, you go near a hot place, you feel bodily comfort. And if it is very hot, you put on the air conditioning and then you feel bodily comfort. So that means body is as real as the experience. So you can't say that body is unreal. All along we've been saying is body is unreal, mind is unreal, only the consciousness is real. But what it ultimately shows us from Dvaita is that body is also real, mind is also real, and consciousness is also real. And body and the mind is the loka or the jagat. And the consciousness is also real. So jagat is also real, consciousness is also real. This is the daunting problem of Dvaita Advaita. So I have no better answers to give that. There are only three feelings and then you can ignore the feeling. And then you will see something else happening. But the question comes, why should I ignore the feeling? The feeling is a feeling, right? So first you answer to me that on the feeling, why there is a feeling? Why there is a painful feeling in the first place in the body? It shouldn't be there. Then I agree that it's only mind made. Then it's okay. So then there is, I have to drop that feeling in the mind and then the consciousness is real. Otherwise, body and mind is also real. Jagat is also, the Brahman is also real, or the consciousness is also real. So then two realities exist. Jiva is real, Jagat is real, Ishvara is real. And as per Shankara, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, all the three are false. Only Brahman is real, because in Brahman all these appear. So I don't have an suitable answer on Dvaita Advaita.
Okay, we can move forward. Yeah. No, I was just pondering over it.
No, you are right. You are done the right thing, Padma Shri. I appreciate you. This you should encounter. And this is where the Advaita fail, because they cannot now come and say that no, this pain is unreal. Boss, I am feeling the pain. Even if your mosquito is bit to you, you will also feel the pain. Then why are you scratching your hand if it's an illusion? You shouldn't be scratching your hand. If you are working in the field and if the finger gets cut, then you can't say that no, this is an illusion. It's untrue. You are feeling the pain. That finger is paining. So whatever is felt is as real. If the feeling itself is removed, then we cannot be called as a sentient being, because we can sense and we can feel and we can perceive. So if we remove all the three, then we cannot be called as a sentient being at all. So I appreciate your question, but this is where it ends between the Dvaita and the Advaita. And Madhvacharya was able to go against Shankara's philosophy with this, that how can somebody says that world itself is a delusion, and he says that anyone who says the world is real has not come out of delusion as yet. Asti iti yaha vakti natasya mohaha. And he uses another very strong word. He says vinirgataha nidritvat prajalpaha. He twaddles, or he is one person who is in deep slumber. He thinks he's awake. So this is what it is. So I think, but you wanted to leave at 9:30, right?
Yes, Vilas. Okay. I have to attend another meeting. Maybe you can proceed.
No. We will do one thing. We'll cut at 9:30, or we'll cut right now, because the next one is even more intense than the previous verse. That is, we did the 2:30. Now the 2:31 is even deeper than what we spoke. So have any questions? Then we still have 3 more minutes. Otherwise, we will end.
Now, I think today's discussion between the Dvaita and Advaita and your answer. So far, I was thinking based on the discussions, this mind is also illusion. Everything what you see this through this our body mind complex, everything is illusion. That's what I was thinking. Now you brought and kept me in between.
Yeah, see,
So still my mind says your old teaching was strongly, it was impressed there, imprinted.
No. We can still go there, but
see, my answer to that is with respect to time, because I am in the time. Naturally, all those things are real for me, because I am within the boundary of time. The moment I cross the boundary of time, then there is nothing called this illusion. We have already crossed.
Correct. So then
but time itself is an imaginary thing.
Yeah. Till we are in the time or mind, it is definitely Dvaita. Because we have feeling. Everything is feeling.
But there is one thing which is so circular, I feel, Vilas. You can sense Brahman only if you are a sensual being. But along with that, the fact is that you will sense pain also because you are a sensual being.
Correct.
So if you are sensing Brahman and you are feeling that everything is not there and it is only that is there, that sense is there in you. The point is that you should not. It is counterintuitive or kind of oxymoronic for me, because of the sense you are sensing Brahman, but it is because of the same sense you are sensing pain also. But then you are considering everything else to be unreal. But because you had that sense, you have sensed the Brahman. So this is a little bit counterintuitive for me to understand, but then I think I exactly know where the point is. If I dwell on that, maybe there will be an answer to it.
I will give an answer in just 30 seconds. If we can disconnect the senses and the sense object, then you will not feel the pain in the body. Simple.
Yeah, that is right.
That is the answer.
But you have been telling so far we are Dvaitis. And we are moving from Dvaita because it's easy to follow, easy to understand. That is spirituality.
Yes.
Then we are going to Advaita. That time we are there, forgetting all these 5 senses and also mind. Correct. When you drop, then you are there in Advaita.
Correct. But I just wanted
Shankaracharya says right now that is possible for you here.
Yes.
But Madhvacharya says it is not possible. Yes. You have to go step by step.
Yes. What Madhva says is that
because of moksha definition is common for both, right?
Yes, moksha definition is common for both. The problem with Madhva philosophy and problem with Shankara philosophy is the Madhva philosophy believes that without God helping you, you cannot make the jump of sense to non-sense. That is, you will not sense anything and you are only sensing Brahman in everything, which is the reality. Okay, so till that time, the world is also real and the Brahman is also real. And now what Shankara feels is that, boss, every individual has already done that. So why are you saying that you cannot do it? You can do it. So you go with an intuitive knowledge that you are Brahman and there is nothing else. So you can reach that without any doubt. So these are the 2 ways.
Okay, I will drop off now.
Okay.
We can continue tomorrow. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Then. Thank you. Bye. Bye, Lata, and bye, Padmashri.
Okay, bye.
Bye.